So, nearby Nisha. I forgot. Liquid soap is a fairly ubiquitous product I bet my left nut the majority of people watching this have somewhere near them in their home. Curiously, despite being something humans have known about for over a century, the idea to put liquid soap inside of a convenient bottle and place it in one's home wasn't something that was commonplace until a guy called Robert Taylor decided to become a pump lord.
Pump lord?
Pump lord, yes. Or pump baron, if you will.
I was going to say, is that the actual title?
It's the title I made for it, because when I finish telling his story, there's no other way to describe him than pump lord. So Nisha, what do you know about liquid soap?
You get loads of different types. I think my favourite sort of soap is the Foamburst shower gel you get.
Okay.
It goes a long way. Like
Yes.
a little squirt goes a long way. And yeah, they come in all sorts of different scents.
Mm-hmm. Liquid soap itself, it's like one of those things, it's so ubiquitous, you can't imagine a world without it. To the point where the original form of soap, bar soap, is something of a novelty.
Yeah.
Like when you get bar soap, or go to someone's house and they've got bar soap, oh, that's strange.
Well, there's a soap that I've had a couple of bars of recently, but it's a soap sponge. So it's a soap in a sponge.
Okay.
You get some interesting flavours like not flavours.
Well, I guess I know what Nisha's doing. Just, oh.
Well, yeah, the scent or flavour, it was mango, and that was really nice.
I think that happened to me as a kid. There's a story told in my family about when I was a kid, and my older brother handed me a bar of soap and went, Karl, it's chocolate. And I took a massive fat bite out of it and was like, ugh!
There's one, very distinct memory of when I must have been about 7 or something. I walked into the kitchen, saw what I thought was a banana, took a bite out of it, it was a soap.
But liquid soap, it's like every home has it, and if they don't, it's something I consider to be quite weird. So, and as mentioned in the intro, the idea of liquid soap is well over 100 years old, because the earliest example of any reference to it I could find is a patent for, and I quote, improved liquid soap, which suggests that liquid soap already existed and the person with that patent just simply came up with a more refined, efficient method. If anyone curious about how they made liquid soap back then, they just added regular bar soap to ammonia spirit, which would keep it in that gloopy state that we're all familiar with. And as mentioned, this is something we've known about for over 100 years, and manufacturers of soap would put the liquid soap into the big ass dispensers you find like public bathrooms and things like that, but nobody ever had the idea to create a smaller scale version of that for the home.
Oh.
Until Robert Taylor. And that's one of those things that's it's baffling to think about. It's like, how did nobody have that idea? Like, they had the thing, they know it works, they use it in public bathrooms, but they never thought to scale it down.
100 years, that just seems too long. That seems way too long.
Well, it's like the statistic about can openers been invented 20 years after the can. Someone invented a can and then no one invented a decent way to open it for 20, 30 years or something stupid like that. And there's so many things like that from history that just nobody figured out, even though it seems quite obvious today. And in this case of liquid soap, the person who noticed this was one Robert Taylor, who found himself thinking out loud, why don't we put this into small containers and put it in the home? Because bar soap, in his opinion, was very inefficient for cleaning one's hands and balls. And he's like, what are we doing? Why don't we have this liquid soap? It's awesome, it's clean, it's more efficient, and it creates a more satisfying lather that's not wasted. Because that's the thing with bar soap, it's very wasteful, very messy. And to have a bar of soap in your home, you need to have a soap dish for it. So you need to have an entire extra thing to stop the thing that's exclusively designed to clean from making a mess.
And the worst bit is when the bar of soap gets smaller and smaller and it starts to break up. You're like, how do I use it? It's little pieces.
I do have a bar of soap for the shower because I like the idea of a bar of soap. It's great when you're with a loofah.
Yeah.
It just makes you feel like I'm in a cartoon, rub it all and create the big lather with it. And Robert Taylor, he had this idea and he thought to himself, this would be perfect for the home. For anyone out there curious why Robert Taylor was spending so much time thinking about soap, he was an entrepreneur who sold soap via the Minnetonka Corporation. And this was a small-scale operation that just made novelty soaps. And some of the things he created are actually really awesome. When I read about them, I was like, why do they not exist today? And if they do, why can't I buy the adult version? For example, he made soap crayons for children that you could use in the bath, and you can write on yourself in the soap crayon, and it encourages children to use soap.
Well, that's so cool.
Yeah, that's a great idea. It's to teach your kids to clean themselves. Here's a soap crayon. Draw on yourself and then wash it off. And he also made soaps that looked and smelled like pieces of fruit, which is probably what you fell for. And that, again,
I'm just going to eat this soap.
I want a bowl of fruit in my bathroom. It's I want to wash apple. I want to smell apple. I want to smell an orange today. And it's noted throughout his career that whenever he came up with one of these good ideas, a big manufacturer of soap would notice and then just steal his idea and use their marketing clout to force him out. which is why he was forced to continually come up with new ideas. And some of the ideas he had for making and selling soap were those ones where you think and go, why did nobody but him think of that? Yeah. And one of them was selling soap that matched your bath sets. So he made soaps that were the same colour as towels and packaged them together. And Taylor was just noted as being a very savvy entrepreneur who was able to spot gaps in the market and exploit them, make a quick buck, and then move on to something else when the bigger companies realised what he was doing, realised there was a market for it, and moved in to just steal his business away. But he didn't really want to do that for liquid soap.
Okay, so what was the problem with liquid soap?
Well, as mentioned, liquid soap was an idea that's existed for over a century, so he couldn't patent that. And his idea was quite simply to put this soap into a bottle with a pump on top. And that idea also could not be patented because pumps have existed for thousands of years, I think, like that, and you can't actually patent a bottle. So while the idea itself was original, no individual part of it was original enough to patent. And as a result, he knew that the instant his idea took off, those same big companies would swoop in and steal all his business. And he begrudgingly allowed that to happen with some of the other ideas, but this idea is one that he saw as like, well, this could make bar soap obsolete. I could capture the entire bar soap market. I don't want to share a piece of that pie. And then he thought to himself, well, if I can't patent the idea, is there a part of it that I can monopolize? Okay,
so I need to know what happened next.
Well, Taylor did some research and he discovered that whilst almost every part of his idea could be easily sourced, from the soap to the bottles, the one thing that couldn't be easily sourced were the pumps. And he did some research and found out that there was only one company in the entirety of the United States that could produce that exact kind of pump in the quantities required. And he thought to himself, well, if some large penis hero bought every single pump they had, it wouldn't matter if somebody stole my idea because they couldn't get a pump. So he called up that company, Karl, and he asked them, very simply, how many pumps could you make in a year? And the sales manager was a bit confused, but looked over some numbers and quoted the figure of about 100 million. To which Taylor responded, I'll take that many, thank you.
Oh my God. Fucking hell.
Yeah. And let's imagine, Nisha, for a moment, you run that company, and a man walks in, smelling amazingly, I bet, and he says to you, I would like to buy up 100% of your production capacity for the next 12 months to the tune of $12 million. What would you do in that situation?
Fuck yeah, agreed.
That's what everyone thinks. You think, like, why would you not agree to, like, basically have guaranteed income for the next 12 months and have 100% of your capacity guaranteed sold? Well, the thing is, while the deal was worth about $12 million, the Minnetonka Corporation was only valued about $8 million. Taylor was realistically trying to leverage 150% of the value of his business on a single purchase of pumps, which has seen this being described in business textbooks as a bet the company move.
Yeah.
Because Taylor was literally betting 150% of the value of his business that this would work out, which I think goes beyond the bet the company move, because he's not betting the company, he's betting everything the company's worth and a little bit more. And when Karl signed on the dotted line and he handed over that money, his business was worth more in pumps than it was in all the soap they sold. Hence, Pump Baron. And Karl did eventually agree to that deal, but they were still hesitant to do so because they had to cancel all of their other orders. And the people that they worked with were not happy about that. They basically burned some bridges with these other smaller manufacturers to get this one deal with him. And Taylor spent a long time convincing them to agree to this deal because he was worried that if anyone out there heard what he was doing, they'd get a bit suspicious. Because there's no more suspicious than buying 100 million of something. And I think it's fair to say as well, like, Taylor had some fucking balls to pull that off.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to put in something as well.
Well, it's more money than his business had on hand. That's not all the money he spent though, because after he managed to secure the pumps and get his products made, he then spent $7 million of his own money on a massive advertising blitz for, as he dubbed it, Softsoap. For anyone wondering, well, how much is that compared to other companies that sold soap? Well, Colgate Palmolive spent that much money advertising all of their products combined per year. And he spent it on one advertising campaign for one product.
Jesus. So much money for just one.
Much money. Pump Lord. The move paid off though, because Softsoap very quickly took up, I think, like 20% of the total market within 6 months. I think he made about $100 million in sales over the course of a year. And As you might imagine, companies like Colgate, Palmolive, and Johnson & Johnson saw this and were like, well, we need to get in on this too. They got their research teams to work out how could we make a competing product. Well, yeah, you can easily make a competing product. The only thing he's got is a trademark on the name. You can easily make a product that competes with it, put your name on it and sell it. All you need is some liquid soap, which you can very easily manufacture using your current resources, some bottles and some
pumps that you can't get hold of.
Yeah, and I would give some amount of money to be a fly on the wall when executives at these massive corporations got this news. Because I think the whole idea hinges on those pumps, which is what Taylor recognised. Like, the bottles can be any shape, but those pumps, they're very specific. And only one company made them. People out there might be wondering, well, couldn't you order them from like China or something? Yes, you could, but that would take several months. Yeah. Several months the companies didn't have, because in those months, just Taylor was making even more millions of dollars. And he had a complete monopoly on the liquid soap market, a market he created for a year straight. And you might be wondering, folks, well, what happened when that year was up? And the answer is Johnson & Johnson, Colgate, Palmolive, all those big companies, they all moved in. Because by that point, they set up their own manufacturing systems for these pumps. Then they got other companies set up, order them from China, what have you. But Taylor still had a sizable share of that market. And Colgate Palmolive, rather than try and compete with the established brand, just bought him out for $100 million.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. And that is how it's fucking done.
That's how you do business, folks.
That is how business is done. Pump Lord.
That's insane.
It's just such a good one. It's like, insane. How many pumps do you want? How many you got?
All of them.
It's literally...
how many do you want? Yes.
It's like that meme, isn't it? Like, these are the people math problems warned you about. And it's like, Robert has $12 million. How many pumps can he buy? I would just love to have been like in that marketing department when they're making those calls of like, so what companies can make these pumps? There's one, there's Kalmar. We could probably order a few million from them to, do a trial run. Call them up. So you need to make some pumps. No. What? No pumps. What do you mean? Like you're the only people who make no pumps. No. What do you mean no pumps? Like every single one's been sold. What do you mean every single one? What a move. Buying every single one. It's like Harry Potter, innit? Just what? I'll set the lot.
Oh, on the train.
Yeah. It's no wonder no one in school liked him. Imagine being on that train and trolley comes down.
But it's empty.
No, some rich knobhead in first carriage bought everything.
Just to share it between him and his two new friends.
Yeah.
It's like, what a dick.
It really puts in perspective why no one in that school likes him, doesn't it? It's like those alternate titles for the books. It's like Lucius Malfoy and just the missed handshake. Where Harry's like, no, thank you, dickhead.
The one I saw, it's not entirely related, but it's like a meme I saw where it was Daniel Radcliffe and Rupert Grint were at a wrestling show.
No.
And it said Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone Cold Steve Austin. I just lost it.
He buys every chocolate frog. What a knobhead. I'd be so fucking mad if I was on a 14-hour train journey and my mum gave me 2 fucking giant galleons or whatever to get yourself a sandwich on the train. And she's not sandwiches. And you're looking at he's not even eating them. But I think his chocolate frog escapes.
Yeah.
Imagine if you're that kid and you're looking out the window and then the frog lands there and you see it's fine, with 20 more.
Because I was on a plane recently and obviously they come down with trolleys of drinks and food. I'd be so pissed off if it got to us and it was just empty.
That happened to me once.
I'm so thirsty.
When I missed a flight once because it got cancelled and I got put on another one. But I got given 2 3-hour flights. So I got given a small flight and a small flight, so I didn't have a meal.
Oh no.
So I didn't have a meal for 15 hours. And I had no money on me. And I was on they were going down giving people meals. And they got to me and went, oh, sorry, you weren't booked on the flight, so you don't have a meal. It's like, I've been 15 hours. So I'm on this plane because you made a mistake.
That's so hard.
And they go, well, maybe we can get you something. He come up with a bread roll and some cheese. And I'm like, oh, come on.
You have to make your own sandwich.
Fuck you, American Airlines. You shit and your planes smell like farts.